Hi, my name is Justin from Grand River Wood Co. And I'm going to show you how to make this Montreal Canadiens logo sign out of walnut and epoxy. And it also lights up in the back. Thanks for watching. So I started out this project looking through all my scrap wood from offcuts and random pieces I had. And I had a 20 by 20 piece of walnut here. And it was an offcut from a table. It was about 1.5 inches thick, so it's going to work perfect for this kind of project. So we're going to start off on my Shapeoko, and I'm using a 1/8 bit carbide, and it's a down cut bit, so it makes a really good finish on the top of the work instead of all the tear out from all the other bits. So I'm using the 1/8 bit for all the letters because I needed it as a smaller radius to get in the tight corners. And for the larger parts, I'm using a 1/4 inch bit. It's also a down cut bit. I'll be linking all the bits in the description below. I got them all from Tools Today. They have a great selection of bits that you can need and great quality. All the little bits in the letters that the CNC missed can just be easily broken away with a chisel or a router. We're doing this logo in 2 different pours. So it has 3 colors, red, blue, and a white. And I'm going to do the red and the blue first, and then CNC a little pocket in between the colors for the silver for a cleaner finish. So we're using chilled diamond today. It's perfect for small cracks and thin pores, so this will be a perfect project for it. Doing 2 different colors today, just the red and the blue. I'm mixing up the red first, and then we'll mix the blue, just because at a large volume in a cup here, it will react and cure within probably about 15 minutes, and that's just way too fast for this project. So we're doing 2 different mixtures, mixing at different times. This epoxy is a 2-to-1 epoxy, so it's 2-part resin for 1-part hardener. And you want to mix for at least 10 minutes minimum before you add your pigments and your dyes. And you want to scrape down the sides in between, and that'll make sure you don't have any uncured bits in your pour. If you don't mix for the proper amount of time, your work can be sticky or soft, or it's just not going to be very good. So make sure you mix for the proper amount of time, and it'll work all the time. So this is a pigment from Chill. It's the same brand as the epoxy. And I'm trying to get a really nice bright red color. And I ended up having to add a different color red and a little bit of black to get the color I wanted. The red here kind of turned out a little bit of pinkish color, and I didn't like it very much, so I added some black pigment, and then it kind of turned purple. So then I added a whole bunch of a different brand red, and it came out really good in the end. You want to test out your pigments before you use them on a big project here. Some brands settle at the bottom of the epoxy a lot more than some other brands, just because the viscosity of the epoxy brands are different. So just make sure you're getting a really good pigment, and it works really well with the type of epoxy you use. So like I said before, this is a 2-part pour. So right now I'm just doing the red outer rim and then moving into the middle of the C and the little middle outer rim there and the blue for the letters. And then tomorrow after I CNC the inside part of it, I can pour the silver color. I couldn't forget to get a clip for my Instagram. Make sure you follow me at Grand River Woodco on Instagram. Before you do big pours on a river or even just little small projects like this, you want to make sure you put a dam of silicone or even hot glue to stop the epoxy from spreading. And you also want to over pour because the epoxy will shrink and soak into the wood. So the dam will allow you to fill your pour up just a tiny bit more, so it will account for shrinking and the wood soaking in all the epoxy. So Chill Diamond is a quicker setting epoxy compared to the Chill 1, 2, or D pour. So it's good for small projects like this, or even little touch-ups if you missed a crack in a river table. It's going to all depend on the volume of your pour. So the small letters will cure a little slower than the bigger C or the larger ring around the edge. So it all depends on your project, but usually about 24 hours before you want to start working on it, either planing it or sanding down. So it's the next day, and I'm using the CNC with the 1/4" bit to cut out the project about 3/4 of the way through the entire slab. I don't want to cut all the way through, but I'm using the CNC just so it's a perfect circle and there's no human error to it. And I also left the project on the CNC while I did all the pours, just so I didn't have to center it, and I didn't mess it up with any of the tolerances. So you want to try to remove as much hot glue or silicone as you can before you start routering again, or it will gum up all your bits and it's just not going to create a good surface finish. And right now I'm just routering the pocket for the silver color, and I'll show you a picture of what it looks like after. You can see how real nice and crisp of a line it is in between all the colors. I just wouldn't have been able to do it all in one pour, or all the colors would have bled together. Here's the picture just showing how nice and clean of a finish that is when you do it in 2 pours. So I'm using my homemade rudder sled here to flatten the top of the work here to get rid of all that extra overflow epoxy. I'm using a Tools Today slab flattening bit It has multiple carbide bits that are removable, so whenever time they get dull, you can easily just replace them. You can see just how good of a surface finish that slab flattening bit left. It only just requires just a little bit of sanding, and there's almost no tear out for the epoxy or wood. So we're going to start off with my Rotex RO sander 125, and we're using 80 grit sandpaper here. And anything lower is just too low of a grit, and you're just going to be sanding extra for no reason. I like to sand everything to at least 80 grit before I chamfer or round over the edges with my router, because any imperfection or little mark or groove left from the CNC will be transferred over to the round over bit, because the bit runs on a bearing, so any little imperfection, the bearing will just run over it like a tire and it won't look very good. Using a 1/4 inch carbide roundover bit on my palm router here, and it's going to leave a nice smooth round finish. I like to raise my grain in between the grits. It just results in a smoother finish in the end. So you just basically spray down your work after you're done with every grit and just wipe all the excess water out. You don't want to use too much water, you just want to just dampen the surface of all the top, bottom, and all the sides. So I like to use the Rotex sander for my 80, 120, and 180 grits, and then I moved to the Bosch finishing sander for 220, 280, and 320 grits. It just makes a smoother finish in the end. So you don't want to move your sander too quick, or it'll leave pigtails or little swirls in the epoxy and the wood. So just move your sander nice and smooth and slow and evenly across all the surfaces. So I needed a ring to hold all the LED lights, and this will go behind the project, and it'll just screw right in the back. So I'm using the CNC to cut a perfectly round circle, and it'll be 1 inch from each end to allow the light to shine brightly and evenly around all the edges. So the LED lights come with adhesive on the back, but from my experience, the adhesive is not very good. So I'm using just some super glue and activating spray just to secure it permanently to the ring. After I screw the ring to the project, I can then burn my logo into the back. For a finish, I'm using the Osmo Polyx oil. It's really good for any kind of small projects like this, or if you use it for a larger table, you want to use multiple coats and build up a nice thick layer for a good water resistant finish. So I'm using a white Scotch-Brite pad to buff and work in the finish here. It's not abrasive, but it's rated to about 1,000 grit, so this will help get rid of any little imperfection that you missed, and it'll create a really nice smooth finish. After about 10 minutes, you can wipe all the excess off that wasn't absorbed into the wood. And here it is finished, hanging in my basement. I think it came out really nice. The colors are perfect and matched the logo completely. You can do this with any kind of sports team or any logo you want. You just have to program your CNC to cut it out. But thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, and have a good day.